What's going on, friends? Cooper the Reseller coming at you, and today I want to talk about what should I sell on Mercari. A lot of people want to get started reselling, but they don't know exactly where to start. First things first, start by selling stuff around your house you no longer need. I think it's been researched on average that people have thousands of dollars of random stuff laying around their house that they do not want or need anymore. So that's a perfect place to get started. I personally started selling my own old clothes that I no longer wore, whether I outgrew them or I just never wore them anymore. Go through your shoes, go through your shirts, go through your jeans. Try to find anything you no longer want. Instead of donating it to Goodwill, try to put it online, put it on Mercari, see if you can get some sales from it. And I think this is the perfect way to start because it's no risk. You haven't spent any money recently usually on these items. So you can afford to wait on them. You can learn the process of listing items without worrying about anything. It's just your own personal stuff. It's not a big deal if it sells, but if it does sell, it's awesome because it's free money for you. It's not a big deal if it doesn't sell is what I meant. You can always donate it later if you don't know what to do with it. So always start looking around the house, even like video games, electronics, maybe a phone you don't use anymore, old iPods, stuff like that. List it on Mercari and see what happens. After you go through all your stuff and list and sell as much as your own stuff as possible, I think a great place for beginners to start finding stuff to resell is thrift stores. And I think this is a great place to start because thrift stores literally have almost everything and it's super duper cheap. There's pretty much every category you can think of, and this is where I recommend to stick or at least start out in categories that you kind of have a good feel for, that you kind of know well. Let me change that right here. And I say this because it's easier. Well, also things that you know, but things that kind of motivate you that you like looking at and like reselling. For example, for me, I really like starting out with t-shirts. I have a good time going through t-shirts because it's really random. You find a bunch of different t-shirts out there. And I kind of have a feel for t-shirts. So going through them, just looking with my bare eyes, I can kind of pick up on what's valuable and what's saturated, what I want to avoid. So if you're really good at shoes, you're a shoeaholic or a sneakerhead, maybe you should start with shoes. Or if you like old vintage electronics, as soon as you hit the thrift store, go straight to the old vintage electronics. Stick with what you know to start out with, and as you get more accustomed to finding that stuff, buying it and selling it, try to branch out into different categories you may not be as familiar with. For example, for me, I started off with shirts, jackets, a little bit of shoes, and then I eventually got into jeans, which I actually really enjoy now. But starting out, I had no idea what jeans to look for. I had no idea how to list jeans, and I had no idea what the market was. But now it's one of my staples. I really like jeans. So just kind of start out somewhere and then always branch out, because the more you branch out, the more opportunities you have to find good items at thrift stores to resell. For me, I'm trying to branch out more into women's clothing and women's shoes because I have no idea. When I'm looking at women's clothes and women's shoes, I have no clue what's valuable, and I know I'm passing on tons of opportunities, especially in shoes, like heels and stilettos and all that stuff. I don't know what I'm looking at, so I've always just avoided it and stuck with what I know. So that's something I might actually try to get a little bit more into and educate myself. And also, if you might think something's valuable, I always recommend to research the items before you pick them up. Personally, I like to use eBay for research. You can do it on Mercari as well, but you can type in items on eBay and you can sort the sold listings, and you can see, don't look at the list prices, but look at the sold prices. You can see what items are selling for, and you can also get an idea of how often items sells by looking at how many are listed right now, and then go to sold listings and look at how many have sold in the past 90 days. That'll give you an idea how fast these items sell through. That's very important. So always be researching your solds. Also, you can use research to learn other categories. For example, you can go onto eBay and you can type in women's heels, women's shoes, blah, blah, blah. And you can sort it from high to low and see what sells really high, or you can see what's sold most recently. Just take some time, go through that, try to learn some brands, and eventually you can also write them down or put them in a spreadsheet, because that'll help you remember them better. But once you go back to the thrift stores, you'll be starting to see these brands that you research. You're like, oh snap, I just found this Morel hiking boots. They're actually pretty good. I haven't seen them before, but I researched it, I saw it, I see it at the Goodwill, I know, oh snap, Morel is a good brand, I need to look that up. And there you go, you just found a new pair of, or a used really good pair of Morel boots that you might have passed on in the past. So research is critical. Another place that you can find stuff to sell on Mercari is by doing retail arbitrage. And for this, at least in the clothing category, I recommend hitting TJ Maxx, Ross, Burlington. These 3 places are really solid, especially if you're going for shoes. I highly recommend selling shoes because people are not running out of feet anytime soon. Shoes do wear out over time. People are always needing new shoes. I also like shoes because they're really easy to look up, and you usually can get some decent margins on them. So shoes is one of the best categories to sell in my opinion. So go ahead, give it a shot. But also people do retail arbitrage, like going to Walmart, Target, Home Depot, Lowe's, doing different types of items there, such as electronics, home goods, different things like that. You can hit the clearance section, go through the clearance section, look up everything in the clearance section. You might find some stuff there. There's also a website called BrickSeek you can go to, and it'll give you a breakdown of a bunch of items in your area at Walmarts, Targets, etc. that are discounted right now. So go to BrickSeek, and you can type in your zip code, and it'll tell you like certain items are on discount. There's this many at this store, this many at this store, this many at this store. You can see what the price is, and you can usually see how many items are at the store. Now, BrickSeek is not 100% accurate, but it more than often than not it is. You can always call ahead if you see a really clearance good item that you think you can flip on Mercari real quick. You can also schedule a pickup to get those items, so they'll pick them and hold them for you till you get there, so your competition doesn't. But BrickSeek is a great tool to use if you really get into retail arbitrage, trying to flip stuff that way. I highly recommend that. And then the last way I'm going to talk about in today's video is local marketplaces such as Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, LetGo. Don't sleep on these. If you spend a little bit of time each morning or each night or each afternoon or whatever, just scroll on through. When I first got started, I actually flipped cell phones on eBay, cell phones and iPods. And I really enjoyed it because the margins were meaty. You can make $25, $50, $100 a flip every time. There's a lot more risk involved. You don't know exactly who you're meeting up with half the time, so you need to be very careful. Meet at a police station, meet at a Walgreens parking lot, meet at a gas station that's really busy where there's a lot of people around. Always look at people's profiles, go into them, make sure they show their face and they look normal and they have a normal profile. Try to feel them out before you meet up with them. Safety's number one when you're doing the local marketplace meetups. But go through, also stick in the categories you know, such as cell phones. A lot of people do shoes, but also sometimes there's big lots of stuff, like a big lot of books or a big lot of CDs or something. You can usually get super cheap. And then you can also, it's fun because you can look up all the items from your home, from your phone, in your bed, in your pajamas, and you can easily look online on Mercari or whatever marketplace you're using to see what the item's actually worth. So it's really easy if you just want to be lazy sourcing. Just get on the Facebook Marketplace, go through, look at items, what they're selling for online, and you can always get a good deal. People always list stuff at a certain price. They almost always expect to be offered lower than that, and they're going to accept that. Usually you can get $5-10 off, maybe even more. There usually is a lot of garage sales advertised on Facebook Marketplace as well, so you know where those are at and you can hit those. Sometimes estate sales or different kinds of sales, so always pay attention to your local marketplaces. And just to wrap up what we talked about today, what should you be selling on Mercari? Start with stuff in your own home, get a feel for all that types of stuff. Branch out to thrift stores, retail, arbitrage, local marketplaces, and categories that you are familiar with, that you have a good feel for. Taste everything. That's what I recommend, experimenting and tasting everything. And then once you're really good at some categories and you have more time and experience, expand out into other categories, learn them, take your time with them, and you'll be amazed. There's so many different categories, so many different items you can sell. But the most important thing is do your research, know what sells fast, and know what sells for a lot, and know where there's not a lot of competition, because the less competition, the more power the more power you have to make sales over your competition. You want to be the monopoly of your category. You want to dominate your category. You want to be where there's not a lot of other people. It just makes it easier for you. That doesn't mean you can't sell in highly competitive categories, but in those, you have to be more careful with pricing. You got to price more competitively, and there's more of a chance that prices get tanked, and no one likes prices getting tanked. So thank you guys for watching. If this video gave you value, smash the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, good luck and take it easy. Peace.